Okay, greetings everyone. My name is Neo and I'm here to share some info for the people. Well, with the people. Okay, now there's some info that I want to share with you guys. What I definitely want to speak to you all about, and this is information that I really feel that everybody has to hear. And everything that I put up on this channel here is meant for people to hear anyways. It's information that I feel that everybody needs to know. And me as a personal development consultant, where I help people with their personal development journey, this information comes from my years of completing my own personal development journey and also after years of my spiritual awakening, allowing me to reach to a higher spiritual consciousness. It's hot in here, so I'm sweating, so excuse me for that. So I've reached a higher spiritual consciousness, and when a person reaches a higher spiritual consciousness, they understand that their perception of this whole life here on planet Earth is totally different, if not totally different, at least slightly different from what they used to have as far as their perspective. And those who have been through their spiritual awakening know what I'm talking about. And as far as a spiritual awakening, the experience is literally different for everybody. Very few to nobody has the same experience when they start to awaken spiritually. And spiritual awakening is when your higher spiritual self, which is the real you, comes into more of a viewpoint, allowing you to perceive things on a higher level beyond your own ego. Because we all have this ego that comes pre-installed when we are born into the human form. It's already pre-installed, and it's just a matter of time for it to come online. We all come pre-installed with a ego with this body, and it's just a matter of time before it comes online. It's just a matter of time before it comes online. And I did not mean to rhyme like that, but it just came out. But anyways, and a lot of times nowadays, a lot of these children, they're getting their ego coming in at like 3 or 4. But when, like years ago, I can remember their ego is usually between like 7 and 13. That's what I perceived as average, between 7 and 13. But nowadays it's a lot sooner, and this society activates the way that it's built. It activates and it helps maintain and inflate people's egos with the clothing commercials, the TV shows, the movies, a variety of different mechanisms that they utilize to inflate people's ego. And then the ego consciousness is much lower than your higher spiritual consciousness. It's on a very, very low level. And that's the human ego. The average person is operating from their own ego consciousness. So they're not operating from their higher spiritual consciousness, which is the true consciousness. And once that is activated, they become present psychologically and spiritually, and they're conscious of their surroundings everywhere they go. And their energy is different. It's on a much higher level once a person has their spiritual consciousness activated, and their speech and their decision making is very, very wise and precise. Their intuition heightens to a very, very high level, and there's a variety of other different things that occurs on a much higher level once a person has activated their spiritual consciousness. And I know this because I have reached an adequate level above average spiritual consciousness level, way above the average person. And this is not saying anything boasting or anything like that, but I'm just saying this helps me to explain how this works and how I can tell the difference between when a person reached their higher consciousness spiritual consciousness, even at a decent level, versus people operating still on their ego level. Now, when people are acting, when they're when they are on their ego level, that ego level is on a lower human level, so they're consistently thinking about lower human stuff, and a lot of the projects that they put their time and energy in, it's not really on a high level that they can be on if they were on their spiritual higher consciousness. And I can tell you this example using music artists, R&B singers, pop stars, and rappers. Now, throughout my spiritual awakening and my personal development journey, the completion of a lot of stuff that I've completed, and a lot of the inner conflicts that I've resolved, because everybody has one or more inner conflicts that needs to be resolved. Those inner conflicts includes insecurities. And insecurities, in my opinion, doing my studying and sitting down and thinking about it, insecurities can be perceived as mental issues, mental health issues, because those are the inner conflicts. And if you think of inner conflicts, when I hear that word inner conflicts, I think of like wires being all bundled up, and it's called spaghetti cable. You know how where you got a bunch of cables all bunched up all together, like you might have some in your corner, in the corner of your room somewhere, and it's just all bunched up, and when you pick it up, you got to go through all of the different holes and just try to get them all out. That is called spaghetti cable, where it's all over the place like spaghetti. So when I think of inner conflicts, that's how I think, because I mean that's what I perceive, because there's a lot of things that go into a person's mind that they don't realize that is the cause for a lot of their mishaps within their own life, especially their relationships and their professions and jobs. So when I meet people or hear about them going through a lot of mishaps, I know that they are either going through a transition, because sometimes the transitions of life causes us to go through different things, and we have to let go of the previous things so that new things can come through, or they just have a ton of inner conflicts that they need to resolve so that they can be able to think straight and clearly, have mental clearness. And the food is another thing. The chemicals inside the food is also what causes people mental distortion. Wait, how can I say it? My word is mental distortion. Yeah, mental distortion. Or you can call it whatever you want to call it, but I say mental distortion. And mental distortion is a lack of mental clarity. And I understand mental clarity. I once understood it when I fasted for 2 weeks. This was a few years ago. For 2 weeks, I did a complete fast. It was a water fast, and that was my first time doing it, and I did it unintentionally because it was one time I ran out of food, and then I think it was money too, and then the only thing that I had was water. But my higher self, the spirit, came through and told me, wait, don't panic, let it go, you have water, just drink water as much as possible. And I did it, and boy oh boy, that was the best time of my my life, and I had the most spiritual experiences throughout that time of fasting. And a lot of people know what I mean when I'm talking about this fasting, and they've been through those experiences where you start perceiving things spiritually. You're like, whoa. And then the other thing I became even more sensitive to energy. So to the point now, I can perceive and read people's energies, and I know what levels they are on spiritually, psychologically, and physically. So this information is coming to you guys for that. The other thing I gotta tell you guys about. So I got past that. So I'm setting up the basic foundation. So now I want to talk to you about becoming present reaching the spiritual consciousness and an adequate level of that and spirituality before reaching major, whether it be career, financial, or any other type of major success in your life. And I see this time and time again after doing my people studying, because I like to study people. That includes celebrities, wealthy people, study my family, people I grew up with. I just sit back and I observe them from a neutral as possible perspective, non-judgmental perspective. Take that information and then I sit down and I analyze it for myself and understand, and it helps me understand spirituality much more and psychology much more, because I like to understand why people do the things that they do. And psychology, I love psychology. So looking at a lot of music artists and sports stars and music artists from a variety of different genres, I see that a lot of them, and especially when they're within their teenage years, they jump and skip the maturity process, because everybody, when they're born as a baby, they have to go through some kind of psychological maturity process that allows them to reach to an adequate level of or higher maturity and spiritual level, so that they can be better prepared for life in the future. Because life throws a lot of unexpected adversity to a lot of different people, and if they have not went through that maturity and spiritual development process, then they're less likely going to be able to cope with and get through those moments of adversity and be able to have that mental clarity to choose the right decision. And I can hear it in people's voices in general, and I can hear it especially in music artists' voices when they're singing and when they're in their interviews. Because when you sing, when a person sings, when they sing or when they rap, and when they're coming from their higher spiritual consciousness, it's in their voice. And let me tell you this, the voice has a frequency. Of course, we all know that sound has a frequency, but it's also our voice. So if you know how to tap into a person's voice, you can tell if they're confident within themselves. You can tell what level of confidence they're on. You can tell if they really feel that they are what spiritual level they are on, if their spiritual consciousness has been activated or not. You can tell if they're lost within their life. You can tell the maturity level that they're on. These are just one of the many things that you can tell from just a person's voice alone, let alone their energy, that auric field that comes around everybody, that everybody has, and also looking at their body, reading their body, how it looks, and looking at their skin. Because the skin and overall the outer body is a manifestation of the person's state of consciousness. You can check this out on YouTube, anywhere. You can read about it. The state of consciousness of a person is the state of their body is a direct reflection of their state of consciousness. So if a person is very stressful, and they have a stressful life and they're lost, it'll show up in their body as a lot of aches. They get tired a lot, and for a lot of people, there's some of them they bald faster in their head. They have bags around their eyes a lot, or it'll be like black around their eyes, and sometimes the black around their eyes is they're eating too much sugar. And it's a lot of stuff, and you can just overall feel it in the energy of their face, if they're stressful or they have inner peace. So me listening, like for the last few years back, listening to a lot of people, a lot of music artists, this is like after I went on like a music fast and a TV fast. And I gotta tell you, fasting, if you really want to get on a high level, it's important to go on go on a psychological and physical fast. A lot of people hear about the physical fasting as far as non-eating, but they rarely hear about the psychological fast. And let me tell you about this. And this is something that I just did. I just knew to just do it, and then my spirit was telling me, like, look, you got to stay away from TV and music and maybe some other stuff too. But I knew those two things to stay away from. So once I started the TV fast, there was no TV at all. I did that for a minimum of 2 years. And then I stopped listening to music as far as the radio music and the mainstream music. And every so often I would listen to something that's on my mute, whatever you call it, my phone. But it was mostly like ambient soundscapes, like water and stuff like that. Yeah, and stuff like that. And once I went on that fast, and I don't even know how long I did that, the music fast. Then when I started to hear music, other people playing music outside, that's when I started to realize a different change in my perception of music and hearing people's voices. It was like the first experience, I think, was Drake was one person that I heard right after the fast. He was one of the early people. It was him, and it was somebody else that I heard. And then I started to realize how nasty the sound was coming through to me. Like before the fast, I probably would have been numb to it or maybe really liked it. But then after the music fast, it came through distorted, and it didn't sound right. The frequency was so weird, and I was able to perceive the insecurities of a variety of artists when I would hear their music. And it's the same thing till this day. I can sometimes point out to you what insecurities that each artist has when I listen to their music. So just got done watching a documentary, no, not a documentary, a reality show documentary, something like that, on BET about these music people, and their children were on the show, right? So looking at one of these artists' daughters, I was able to immediately read that she was lost. She has not reached an adequate level of maturity and spiritual consciousness. So, but at the same time, she wanted to be a music star. And instead of realizing that she needed to go through a maturity process and a spiritual development process, which her parent, he's a popular hip-hop artist, very, very popular, and I'm not going to say his name, very popular artist. He doesn't understand, and I know he doesn't understand as a parent. It's his responsibility to put his daughter through a maturity process and spiritual development process. If he doesn't do it himself, or his wife, or whoever, his girlfriend, whatever, at least have somebody do it to help her, guide her through it. Because right now, this little girl, I can see it in her face, and I can feel it in her energy. She is completely lost. But what she does know is that she wants to do music. And if I was around her, and if I knew her, I would be like, no, the first thing you have to do is you got to get your mind right. You got to get your spiritual consciousness activated so you can be present and not allow your ego to be in the forefront speaking for you. Because right now, like me reading her on the show, at least, which she might have grown ever since then, reading her now, her mind is all over the place, and I can tell by listening to her voice she has not matured. So this is why I want to tell everybody else who wants to be a music star of any sort, who wants to get into any business industry, whatever you want to do. If it's in particular, if it's something where you are going to be in the public's eye, and the more you are going to be in the public's eye, like a music artist, a business owner, a politician, even a real estate agent, you have to become present and understand what consciousness is. Higher consciousness, not the consciousness of the society where it tells you, okay, you got to focus, you got to go to school, graduate, whatever school you're going to go through, graduate, you get a job or you get a career, and then yada yada yada, you live happily ever after. No, you got to get that higher consciousness that helps you understand what maturity is, being able to perceive things from a mature perspective that allows you to make mature, wise decisions, including in your social engagements with other people. And the more you're going to be around other people, the more you have to have a social genius mind to be able to even to have that what they call emotional IQ, understanding your own emotions, understanding what emotions you need to be in any given situation, and also perceiving other people's emotional states that they are in, and knowing how to make your own adjustments according to their emotional states, so that you can help make the situation go as smoothly as possible. But a lot of people, they lack all that understanding, what I just said, and they have not been through a lot of their personal development journey. So that's one of the top reasons why their relationships fail, and also their careers and whatever projects fail. It's largely because they don't understand how to treat people, they don't understand themselves, and first and foremost, they haven't reached that spiritual consciousness so that they can be present in the moment. Let me tell you this, a person can be physically present, but psychologically and spiritually they can be somewhere else. And I can tell the difference by looking at a person's eyes, listening to their voice, and reading their energy. That's the top three things, and I can tell the difference. And this young lady that I'm speaking about in this documentary show, when she speaks, her eyes are all over the place. She's not even really confident in speaking about things that her articulation is at a low level. So me reading her, that's the very first thing. I'm like, okay, she's not even on an adequate level as far as being articulate. So if she's not on that level yet, then we need to push that music career way down the line until she get that together first. This is how it is with a lot of you people that's watching this video, and a lot of people you know who needs to hear this. So for me, as a personal development consultant, from with my website at transformationsubliminals.com, yes, that is a plug, transformationsubliminals.com, and I'll put that in the description. I help people by providing them personal development consultations, so I can let them know right then and there, as we're speaking with each other, I can let them know what's going on and what they need to change immediately. Just like I read that young girl, I can read so many different people. Even when they walk into a room, I can tell you, like, okay, they got this going on with them. They need to fix that if they want all of this other stuff to work. And I'm telling you, society programs people so terribly well to skip that maturity and that spiritual development process, and to just jump right into a career, or to think that they can just jump into a career before they're actually psychologically prepared. And the same thing with a lot of people think that just because they got a car, they got money, they got a good career, that they are automatically prepared for a committed relationship with another person. No, those things are just really options that help out with a committed relationship. But what helps out the first and foremost, and I'm stuttering and I'm trying to take my time, but I got so much energy and I'm passionate about this personal development stuff and relationships, so I get really excited. But what matters first and foremost when it comes to committed relationships is mental clarity, mental flexibility, and just overall a high level of mental development, allowing people to make the wise decisions and being able to control themselves, control their behavior. Very few people understand what controlling their behavior is and how to control their own behavior. So that's what I do with my personal development consultations. I sit down with the person, whether it be on the phone, even through chat, because I have a chat option available on my website where we can chat it up, or even through emails. And I'm telling you, I can read people's energy through their emails too. So you'll be amazed. Energy transcends all physical matter. That's one thing that I learned by watching people in their videos, talking to them on the phone, reading their text, whether it be email, text messaging, or even the text that they wrote down. It's energy, their energy coming through from wherever it is. So that matters. Your energy matters too. So I help them out with that, and I create a strategic plan that they can follow, which they probably more than likely wouldn't been able to create one by themselves. And this is especially good for teenagers too, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of parents who psychologically prematurely had children, whether they consciously had children or they so-called made it was a mistake, which I really don't believe I really don't believe in mistakes anymore as far as sex and children and having children, because it's like as soon as a man sticks his ding into a woman, he should definitely already know that there's a chance that he could have a child with her, and as soon as she opened up her legs and let him in, there's still a chance that a child could come through. So there's some situations with rape and some excluding situations. I understand that, but as far as of two people sitting down with each other and getting it in, I don't believe in mistakes anymore as far as having those babies. So I wanted to say too, so when parents have children like that, those are lust babies. And let me give you my description of lust babies. A lust baby is when two people get together and they're in together in a union of lust, where it's purely sex and it's a purely lower human. Oh, I want to do this to you and I want to do that to you and I want to get this in like this, and then boom, a baby comes out. That's a lust baby. The lust baby is usually psychologically on a low level. The parents do not know how to develop that child to a higher psychological level. So the lust babies are less likely to be geniuses. Every so often, maybe 1 out of 10, a genius child will be born out of a lust relationship, but the majority of the time, these are low-level children. They're microwave babies. They're not very smart. They don't have much persistence. They're very psychologically weak. They're very, very immature. And when them coming from a lust situation from their parents, they're less likely going to get adequate, mature guidance from their parents. So then they're just going to walk around lost. And that's how it is with a lot of these music artists, regardless of what age they are. These are music artists writing these songs and singing these songs, whether it be singing or rapping these songs, misleading people in a variety of ways, because they are coming from a lower human perspective, from their lower ego, their lower weak ego. And even if they singing happy-go-lucky songs, you got to listen to the lyrics too. The lyrics, once you reach a higher spiritual consciousness, you can be able to tell a whole lot of stuff that's going on. So there's still a lot of music artists, and your favorite music artist might be one of those lost psychologically and emotionally and spiritually lost individuals. And they need to get their mind right immediately so that they can go to an even higher level. Because when you record your music coming from a higher spiritual level, or from any level really, you're recording your energy onto the track. Your energy is on the track, if you haven't realized that or not. So that's why when I sit there and I listen to music, people's voices, I can feel their energy, and I can tell what level they're on a variety of levels. Let me give you an example. Like I said in one of my previous videos, one time I was laying on the couch listening to the R&B artist or whatever she's called, R&B soul. Her name is Guapele. Guapele. Goapele. I like this young lady. Beautiful, beautiful. I first heard her from the song Closer, and I heard her on MTV. Her video came on. I think I was cleaning early in the morning, and when I heard her voice, I immediately stopped everything that I was doing, and I had to sit down and look and see who is this singing. And her voice caught my attention. She had an angelic voice, and it was a voice of peace, peaceful energy. And then when I looked at her videos later and her interviews, because I like to watch artist interviews so that I can get a lot of information and get new ideas and learn new things about psychology and spirituality, and I can see people's distortions so that I know for myself what I need to do to avoid that, and also to be able to help other people out and let them know what's going on. So when I listened, it was one time I was listening to her sing, I think it was the Closer song. I was listening to that in darkness, no lights, and I closed my eyes and listening to that song and listening to her voice literally made me feel like I was floating in the cosmos and like amongst a bunch of stars. And that was the first artist and my first experience with that. And that was when I realized, like, yo, it's the voice, that frequency that a person is on that tells you a lot about them. And these music artists are on a very low frequency. And sometimes it's meant like that because these record labels wants to keep other people on a low frequency. The lower frequency a person is on, the more controlled they can be from the external world that this world societies control. They influence people. But when you reach a higher frequency and your spiritual consciousness is on, it's very little to no control from anybody else they can do, because you're on a higher consciousness and you can just think and you can even perceive things before they actually happen. So you can position yourself to a different area to get around certain things or just do certain things where you can avoid it. People who are already on that level know what I mean. So when you're listening to these artists, and that's why there's certain music that I just don't listen to, and certain artists I don't listen to because I already know that they're on a lower frequency, and I don't want to listen to that frequency over and over again, because those lower frequencies can literally entrain your brain to get down to that level. And when you get down to that level, your psychology just goes down to that level and you start thinking slower. That's why I like to listen to certain peaceful music, like classical music, but on average I listen to the ambient sound of music. You know, the type of music with like the flutes, and sometimes when I'm just at the park, just by myself. It's a form of meditation too. I just listen to that in my headphones by myself. That helps me with my mental clarity. So I really want you to, all of you, not only music artists or aspiring music artists, to really give this some consideration and really think about starting to get your mind right first and foremost, because it is our mind that helps us move forward. It's our mind that's in control of our bodies and our behavior, and believe it or not, the attraction of people, places, and things in our lives. You can check this out on YouTube. It is our mind that attracts people, places, and things in our lives and attracts us into certain circumstances. So if a person is in a circumstance that they do not want to be in, and they have been attracting those same type of circumstances, more than likely it is their mind that they have to address. Those inner conflicts and those beliefs they have to get rid of and replace them with new beliefs that are productive for themselves. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and close that out right now. My name is Neo, N-E-O, and I am a personal development consultant. If you would like a consultation, a personal development consultation, you can check me out at transformationsubliminals.com. And you can also email me at let me see which email I want to give, because I got so many emails for different things. You can email me at CommittedRelationships@gmail.com. That will be in the description also. Thank you very much. Do like, comment, and definitely share this video with whomever you feel needs this, and share it on your social network pages. Let them know about this information. Definitely subscribe and hit the bell button if you want more information about personal development, relationships, and also, what else do I talk about? Spirituality too. I speak about spirituality on this also. Alright, till next time.